Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted with your host Mikey.
And Danny, hi.
Hi. And today I think we just wanted to kind of start off with a conversation about the role that frugality plays in our lives, and how we practice it. What are we giving up as a result of it? And is there perhaps a better way to optimize for the happiness that we experience in our lives, right? While still, keeping our spending manageable. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you can have the best of both worlds. I think, we're both fire-minded people, and
Hmm.
reality is an important part of the fire journey.
Hmm.
But I think at the same time, you can also be frugal and also, be intentional about where you are spending your money.
Hmm.
In that journey to, hit whatever fire number it is that you set for yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, for myself, I think I enjoy dining and eating out and
Hmm.
um, good food, and I think that's something that I probably would not want to be
Hmm.
frugal about. I think it
Hmm.
just gives me a poor quality of life. But I think when it comes
Hmm.
to other things like, I don't know, designer clothes or needing to have the latest model of, I don't know,
Hmm.
whatever tech product.
Hmm.
I guess I'm not as inspired by that. I feel like it doesn't give me as much value.
Hmm.
And so I don't splurge.
Hmm.
There's this famous, not famous, well, I think she's pretty famous, fire podcast, like personality. I forget her
Hmm.
name, but she's like, her whole thing is like you can buy anything you want, but you can't buy everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you can
Yeah,
have whatever you want, but just not all at the same time is like
yeah.
another
And so
variation of
you
that
just have
saying.
to choose. And I mean
Yeah,
everybody has to choose really, well, except for the billionaires. But
right.
um
Fair enough.
I mean even they have to choose, right? Because there's only 24 hours in a day. They can't do everything as all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so so yeah, I think that's a good healthy approach to it. What about
Hmm.
you?
I would say, okay, what's interesting about your, like the spend on what you value and like cut the rest kind of mindset, I notice it's very similar to the ideas that I think Ramit Sethi is like a personal finance like content
Oh, there's
creator.
a great article. I mean, there's a great interview with him this weekend on the New York Times.
Yeah, yeah. Which I definitely like resonate with and I agree with, but at the same time I also find myself like trying to reframe it in a different way. Wherein like instead of like thinking about spending money, I think about how I spend my time and is it going towards things that I really value? And the money is like kind of like a separate thing. It's kind of like I treat it as a game of just trying to like minimize costs wherever possible, and that also includes dining out, which I guess in my life don't value as much per se, but what I do value is the quality of time that I'm spending with the other person, and that, for instance, can include like eating out at restaurants and whatnot. But I still try to like minimize spending like wherever possible, and like not just for the sake of reaching this fire goal, but as a way of decoupling like spending from like the quality of time spent doing things with other people because I feel like sometimes those things are very much so intertwined, but I also feel like I'm also trying to find ways to kind of escape the financial dimension, which is obviously like it has such a huge role in so many aspects of our lives, but is there a way to still really like the question I want to answer is how can I enjoy my life even it's impossible to like do so like without spending money, but it's like where can I pour my time and energy into in a way that would also maximize um, yeah, my satisfaction. So
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just identifying what you value the most, right? Like, is
yeah.
it, and I think at a fundamental level, like for a lot of people, it's sort of the similar things, like quality time with people you like,
Hmm.
being able to have access to information and
Hmm.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, um, Yeah, and I mean for me it's like, I think I like um I don't know, hanging out with friends, going out, enjoying each other's company, and
Hmm.
sometimes that entails going to restaurants. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I do like to ideally travel a little bit more,
Hmm.
um, but I like local travel as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I guess it's really thinking about like what you value and then how do you optimize
Yeah.
um, to get the most out of
Hmm.
um,
For sure.
sort of the time that you have with the resources that you have.
Yeah.
That's like not unreasonable or will make you feel like you're sort of on the wrong track, if that makes sense.
Hmm. For sure. Um, but the other thing I wanted to add was I've also been watching a lot of content from a lot of creators who have already reached fire and kind of their reflections on life, like after, during, before. There's this one content creator on YouTube. His name is Andrew Shue, and he like, I don't know, he's really interesting. I think he has like a Dutch boyfriend, but he's like Asian Canadian. That's like
Wait, I think
found
I
in
know who
like,
this is.
okay, yeah, maybe you like have seen
Wait,
his videos before.
is this the guy that moved to like Denmark or something?
The Netherlands, or like was trying to, but
Well,
ended up,
I think he had a recent video where he's like things I
yeah,
regret about my fire
yeah.
journey or something like that, right?
No, right, right, right. I saw that video as well, and I'm sure that also, there's some points that resonate
Wait,
with
did
you.
you get any insight? I'm like so curious. Like, what
Wait,
is
I
fire?
actually did. Well, I think the long story short was like he, grew up in a not impoverished household, but like, he like developed a lot of frugal habits and ended up stumbling upon, I guess, like, fire when he was like in a relatively young, when he was like earning and saving a lot of money. And then I think he like went down like the tech route where he was able to like invest like a lot of his money. But then he got laid off. But then because of the bull market, he was able to sustain like his standard of living without, depleting his portfolio. And he actually realized that he basically had hit lean fire without even realizing it through a combination of luck and circumstance and realization. But my main takeaway was that like even after hitting like that particular goal, there's always like more to be wanted from life. Like that's never like the end of the journey, and it's never about like hitting a certain number and that will like then you can like be happy, or like it's never about hitting like a certain goal and then you're like right, like, and I feel like as human beings like we all have like ambitions and goals and desires that we set for ourselves, but it always ends up being that, we're maybe happy for like 10 to 15 minutes after like achieving like, a really huge milestone. And then after that, it's like,
Yeah.
well, what's next? And I like to keep that in mind for perspective like a lot of the time, because it's like, sure, like I'm on this path of like attempting to like reach financial independence earlier than I would had I reached a traditional retirement age at 65. But at the same time, I know that that's not kind of the end all be all. And I'm also trying to, it's like balance living my life as it is now. And
Yeah.
that's
Wait,
kind of like the main takeaway, which is like,
wait,
it sounds kind of obvious, but
wait, did you get any insight on like how much he was able to save like for him to reach retirement?
yeah, so he was a content creator that, does not like to disclose like specific numbers, but he did, give some hints for the audience to deduce like what his particular number is. But the reason why is because he doesn't want people to compare. But I also realized that it is helpful to have like kind of like a benchmark reference. So for one,
Yeah.
what I deduced was that, well, he's Canadian and he lives in a relatively posh like apartment building, but spends like relatively little on like food and going out and whatnot. And I think like he ended up, what is it, purchasing, I think like an apartment in, I forget, does he live in Vancouver or like Toronto? I think it's Toronto. But he
Well,
like,
wherever he's in Europe now, which is why I was curious because
mhm.
he's
Yeah.
like that is a really high cost of living
Yeah, 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 yeah.
place in the
City.
world.
Did
Like
he say
Western Europe.
specifically? I don't remember, but I think at the video that I watched, he was like still in Toronto, and
Yeah.
he like, had bought his kind of like flat on his
Hmm.
own before it was built, which was like a very risky decision because it's like, well, obviously like you don't know if that flat is going to be like a great place to live or not, and also like whether or not. But he was able, I think it was a series of decisions that in hindsight he realized was very risky, but in the moment, like it made sense to him. But he sold like his previous apartment and then bought like a new one and blah 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 blah.
I see.
Um, one thing after another, he was able to, yeah, um, basically have enough to just like sustain his standard of living for now. And obviously, like with how crazy like the financial markets have been, it's just been going up higher and higher and higher, and that obviously creates like more flexibility for um the
Yeah.
ownership class of people. So in any
Wait,
case,
so what's your estimate of his number, do you think?
I think he said he's at lean fire, which I think like at the bare minimum he probably has like maybe anywhere between like 750 to 1.2 million like in US like dollars. That's like the
Okay.
figure that comes to mind, but obviously like
Okay, okay.
that's right. Like, and I feel like in Canada, especially like with the currency conversion, like it makes sense to yeah, like be able to live on that much.
I don't know,
Which
750 is kind of low for like Europe.
yeah. But if your kind of apartment is already paid off and you have no like
Yeah.
yeah, right. So I think it's like you can still be lean about it and yeah, not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, my lean fire is like a lot higher than that. It's at least like 1.5 to like 2 million.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I just wouldn't be able to sustain that kind of life.
mhm. Yeah. So I think it really depends on.
I think part of it is also like I wonder if his like if he's splitting the cost with his partner.
That also could be possible, but I think he like
Yeah.
in his most recent video he had like broken up. It's also really weird that we're talking about a content creator that we obviously like have a parasocial relationship with, which is like completely like it's just crazy. You just know so many
Well, it's
details
fine. I
about
mean,
this.
we're not
Uh,
disparaging,
no.
him in any way. I mean, we're all looking to like we all are kind of on the same journey, right? Like
Yeah, which is true. It's just like, I don't know. It feels weird talking about someone who you know so much about, but like knows barely anything about you.
well, I mean, that's the point. That's the point of, but I also, it is interesting, and I'm curious. I mean, I think he's doing the right thing and having that YouTube channel that's quite successful too, because it's,
Yeah,
it's another source of income. It could then
right.
allow him to subsist with a lower like net
Hmm.
worth.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I'm curious what his like side hustles are. Like, is he freelancing? Like he mentioned he worked in tech, so I'm wondering if he's like
Yeah, I
still
think he was
doing
like coding
something.
up a financial independence calculator
Okay, well
on a
there you go.
website. So there's that. And he also posts like blogs about right, like living simply and frugally, just kind of trying to
Well,
spread these ideas of living a more sustainable
yeah.
life that is less resource intensive and depletes like, not just like financial resources at a much slower rate, but also like resources um, of like real world
As he should.
yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I am it's pretty persuasive. And at the same time, like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
But
also
yeah.
curious what his partner thinks about this, because it is a tricky thing to navigate, I think, in a relationship to have one partner be like, "Oh, I think I'm just not going to work,"
Mhm.
and um, like, how do you navigate that in a relationship if your other like
Yeah.
significant other is like, "Oh, I'm working full time and I'm coming home to you like every day," and I mean, maybe you're doing something. It was like,
Yeah.
you're bringing in like 30K a year, I'm bringing in like 100 plus, like
Hmm. Yeah,
that could be a
I
bit of
think
a
from what I watched, it seemed like he and his partner had broken up or something.
oh,
And that was like, yeah, like a
well,
really
that's unfortunate.
yeah. So I don't know. I think he was like planning to like move his entire life over to like the Netherlands, and then all of a sudden, like I don't know, things like were not going so
I
well.
thought he was there already. No?
No, no.
Oh,
I think
oh,
at the time he was still in Canada. Um,
I see.
but yeah, anyway, I literally like I'm a little bit too deep in the lore, but I still like don't. I think my main takeaway is just like to the cliche of like just enjoy the journey, you know.
Yeah. And maybe we're talking about
But
two different creators, but anyways, yeah, I mean,
maybe.
I think it's great that you know,
Yeah.
yeah, people can hit that number and then be like, oh, like, I've
Hmm.
gained a lot of knowledge in navigating this journey of achieving financial independence. And let me share my insight. I think it's a great thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Even though I did hear someone disparage fire content creators online recently, and I didn't like that.
that's fair. I feel like, you know, everyone has their own right to their own opinion. And I do hear a lot of the
Fair.
criticisms about Fire, which is like, why are you like spending, or not even, I think it's not necessarily the FI part, like the financial independence part is, I think, a huge aspiration for a lot of people, but the retiring early part is more debatable in terms of like, why are you kind of like spending all of this time, like, intent or like your labor and your efforts and your resources on something that may or may not ever come because you know you could have health issues and it's like the main criticism is about like it's over
That's
skewed
true.
towards yeah right like prioritizing the future over like your present self and I think like
Yes.
it's obviously somewhere in the middle where it's like you don't obviously want to only be focused on like you know living in the present and like having nothing like saved up for the
Mm.
future in case anything goes wrong. But then there's also the other extreme where you are overvaluing the future and not, you know, spending enough time living your life in the moment. So simply put, I
Yeah, I mean,
think,
I do
yeah.
think that, well, a lot of people talk about this. And I do think it's changed for a lot of people. Like this idea of like,
Hmm.
running to fire as fast as possible.
Hmm.
Like I think a lot of creators that I follow, Bigger Pockets is a great one. I don't know if you
Hmm.
heard about them. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're like, oh, like a lot of people like I wish I didn't do that. I wish we didn't, spend most of our 30s and 40s like buying and renovating houses.
Hmm.
That's how they reached their fire numbers,
Yeah,
flipping.
right.
And it would have been nicer to be able to like take it easier, take it slower.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the next generation of fire is like people who are like that, who are like, oh, like I'm gonna hit coast fire and then there's a generation of people I think now that do that. They hit coast fire and
Hmm.
then they don't, put in any more money into their retirement accounts.
Hmm.
I mean, they're monitoring the situation, obviously,
Yeah.
but they're not going to just by default put a ton of money into their retirement accounts. They're going to focus more on quality of life and
Yeah. Yeah.
travel and whatever it is. And if it takes them a little bit longer, so be it.
Hmm.
They're okay
Right.
with that.
Yeah. It's funny because I was running some numbers and I was like, well, technically, if I plan to retire at like age 70, like I've already hit coast fire, but like age 70 is so far away. And it's like, if I want to retire earlier, obviously I need to like earn and save more money,
But
but at the
people,
same
but
time,
don't forget, it's not about retiring.
yeah.
It's about like doing the work that you want to do. And I feel like you're already
Which
doing some. Yeah. Which one? Where
Yeah,
are
no, no,
you?
no. Where there is like the sense of alignment, which kind of renders like the whole purpose of like I don't know. I feel like some people like find this goal, but then they end up staying stuck in jobs that they hate because they are looking for a way to escape and have more agency in their life. But in my
Mhm.
current situation where I do feel like, you know, there is this sense of agency, I don't see anything wrong with just like getting to fire at like a much slower rate because the question
Yeah.
after that of like what do I do after fire is probably what I would be doing now anyway. So it's, and I repeat that over and over again because I genuinely do
Yeah.
believe that, you know, it is true. And even if not, I think it's also, I don't know. I feel like it's a mindset thing where it's like if you're in a
It really
situation,
is.
right, where
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's something that I think I struggle with a lot. It's like I always think like, oh, things will be so much better once I hit my fire number, but like
Mhm.
I don't think it will. I think part of it is just like learning to navigate life, like being comfortable with the fact that there is always going to be some degree of risk that you cannot
Yeah,
completely eliminate.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's key to it. And part of it is like, okay, maybe you don't have to do a job that you don't like, but it's like,
hmm,
I mean, it's still you still want to do something. You still want to be able to find a sense of purpose. And it's like,
hmm,
you know,
yeah.
once you
Yeah.
find a job that gives you a sense of purpose, you're still going to be working.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
right, like you're still going to be working, but at least work no longer is like in the efforts of something you no longer believe in, and it is something that is aligned with like this key word of alignment, I think is it's become a cliche, but I still think it's very important to have this
it is.
cohesion of value, your values, your efforts are going towards something that you find important. And if, right, like there is any misalignment, for instance, you're working a job that pays like incredibly well, but is like incredibly misaligned with who you are and what you find to be important, then I think there's like a stronger impetus to kind of reach this state of independence where you can have, I think what people are looking for is not necessarily like, well, independence from necessity for sure. Like that, I think is like
Mhm.
everybody wants like, a basic standard of living, right? But I think what people are looking for is just like the sense of agency of like having control over what they do. And I think that some people are lucky enough to find themselves in a position where they're already doing that. For others, it may
Yeah,
take more time to figure that out. And then
yeah,
for some, it's also just about, I don't know, like discovering what that is for you. So anyway.
that's true. But do you feel like also sometimes like that sense of like finding purpose? Is it like how much of it is that like your job and how much of it is, you yourself?
Well, I
Change
think
you.
it's a mixture of both and the nature of the work that you do. At least like for me, working at like, a boutique firm that practices design, I think it's yeah, like there's some people who view work as a very transactional thing where it's like, it's just a way to pay the bills. But then there's others who
Mm,
kind of like incorporate the values that they bring in their own personal lives into the work. And it's a more holistic and intertwined way because of looking at work, because it's just you spend so much of your life like doing it, so you might as well make it count is
that's
kind of like
true.
the mindset. Not just for
Yeah.
like the agenda of the corporation, but also like make sure that it's aligned with your interests as well. Um, so, and that's really hard. I'm not saying any of it is like easy, but
I
it's
just wonder
it's
like how much of it is like the individual's mindset versus,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I just wonder like would I be more aligned? Would I feel more aligned if it's just a matter of like practicing? I don't know,
hmm
maybe it's a whole meditation thing. Like you have to think about what it is that um
hmm
I don't know. And it's I was kind of reading some sort of articles about a couple months ago about like how, you know, a lot of high pressure jobs in the
hmm
world are like they want someone who's very good at dealing with pressure. Like thrives under pressure is like kind of almost a memeable term for these roles.
hmm
But it's like, but I often wonder how much of it is nature, like ability to, thrive under pressure, how much of that is nature and how much of it is nurture, how much of it is something
hmm
that's just comes from yourself
Yeah,
learning how to manage pressure, high pressure situations.
for sure.
And is it
Well,
is it is it possible for all of us? I mean,
mhm,
we all can't be CEOs, of
mhm.
course, but
Yeah.
um, but like hypothetically, how possible it is for us to kind of have these senior leadership skills
hmm
um, and to practice
Yeah.
them. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess we're feasible in our day to day.
for sure. I think there was this like sociologist's idea of like elite overproduction where there's like we have an entire workforce that is able to, hold like super high positions of power if they were given the opportunity to. But the issue is there's not enough opportunities for people to be in like, positions of leadership because it's just not available. Anyway, we have less than a minute left. But anyway, this is an entire topic that, we can go into a rabbit hole about.
Yeah,
But
no,
anyway.
that's an interesting topic. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts are on
We should continue this next time. It's
fire.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let us know
Yeah.
your thoughts on fire, where you're at in your journey, and what you ultimately want to do. So
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.